The Star.
Yeah, y'all already know. Seven the pan. That dude Fizz on the beat. Yeah. We live in entertainment. Sound change. Crown the kings only. This is where it get ill. About to have the tip off live as a tip drill. From the court to the diamond, to the track, to the big skin flying around the field. Starting five forever, keeping it real. If it matters in the world of sports, blue jeans and long sleeves, they taking no shorts. Hot to death, oh yes, these are the sports podcasts live as a pros course. Biz market wave, the starting five goes off. No matter who you cheer for, emotions out the window. They analyzing with clear thoughts. They take it way deeper than the boys ever. No longer got any use for the four letters. The latest news, score stats and the view from the sideline. Ain't no guideline, it's just the truth. Yeah, no need to dig for a parting line. It's always in season. The people starting five. We going in on three. Run the baseline, starting five. Get it. We got what you need. If the sports news you see, we don't waste time. We talking cause we live it. We got what you need. We going in on three. Run the baseline, starting five. Get it. We got what you need. And y'all know me, seven sign. I'm the illest cat stick. I got what you need.
Oh man, I was gonna say each and every week we always got what y'all need, but right now on this beautiful weather Father's Day, I got a fat bitch across the street singing her heart out with karaoke fucking microphone, singing terribly to some of the saddest music ever. But we ain't gonna be the saddest podcast ever. Fuck that shit. This is the newest episode of the Start 5 podcast. As always, hit start5podcast.com. Hit our sponsors right above, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. Go to hooksrub.com and get 20% off your order using the promo code starting 5. Now, the irony that this is Father's Day weekend, this is Father's Day Sunday, and the only two people here on the show are both fathers. What up, yo?
Yeah, I was gonna say that earlier before I was gonna say that before behind the scenes before we started. I was like, yo, it kind of fits because we're the ones with kids on the show, so it's apropos. But what's up, man? It's been a busy week for me.
Word.
Busy week, can't complain. Shout out to KB, hit me off with some Mets tickets for the Yankee Subway Series. So I was there Wednesday. Then Friday, I had a friend's 50th birthday party, which was a black tie affair. Then Saturday, I had another birthday party, which is a 40th birthday party I went to, and that was fun. And now today it's chill. Today and tomorrow is chill because I'm done, bro. It's been a long week.
Word. Good for you.
Long week, extended weekend.
It's been a long week for me of just work. Fucking 6 days work. 6 days this week. Got 2 hours of overtime on the front of the shift. But real quick side note before we keep going. This is what Father's Day is about right here. And y'all hear them in the background. My kids bugging the fuck out, but having fun with the hose and water guns. But that's what this Father's Day is about. You know, the daddies never get to rest, even though today is the one day of the year that I can kind of go unbothered and chill. Like I was able to wake up at 9:15 today, which if you don't understand, like that shit is invaluable sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like, plus the fact that I don't have to go to work next week, kick off vacation week with Juneteenth, which funny
Nice.
enough, yo, I didn't send it to the text messages, but I was saying it to people around me. They were asking for volunteers to people to work, supervisors to work Juneteenth. And in my head, I should have expressed this in the group chat. How dare you ask a black man to work on a black holiday? Like we shouldn't have even been included in the conversation.
At all.
Now I get it. It's money. It's an extra time and a half or whatever. And you know, my job is pretty simple. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm kicking off vacation. Fuck work. even we ain't going nowhere. We ain't really going anywhere right now because one, I couldn't afford it leading into this week, but two, it's my wife's birthday week and my daughter Zoe graduates 5th grade. So we complete our last child. Come, our last child in 5th grade. Say hi to the people, Zoe.
Hello.
You know,
Hey, Zoe.
the last elementary school kid in the family. Off to 6th grade next year.
Wow.
And then my wife turns older. I'm not going to say the age. She just turns older. So, but normally, if I got it, we'll
Very
go
smart. Very smart move.
Yeah, normally we'll do like an AC trip or a Philly trip, something. I don't know. I'm off this Saturday. We'll see what we're going to do. Traditionally, after every graduation, the kid gets to pick what dinner they want to go to. So last year with Danielle was Olive Garden. With Zaria, when you graduated 5th grade, you wanted Red Lobster, or we did Olive Garden too? We did Red Lobster. Like that's what they like, so that's what we're gonna do. There's the other one. Say hi, Danielle. Hi to the YouTube world.
Hey, Dan.
You know. So yeah, like I said, that's what Father's Day is all about. Watching my kids get wet, and now they mad that they wet. But yeah, man, we're going and with the Father's Day being said, we are going to go over some of who we think are the best father, daughter, son combinations in sport. And we're talking about like some of these people had like just amazing legacies as a whole. One of the families that I'm gonna mention, my goodness, the fucking lineage in the sport of professional wrestling is literally every child at least attempted wrestling, and one of them is arguably considered to be one of the greatest of all time. One of them is arguably considered the greatest family of all time. There's just so many. Freaking TJ's baseball picks brought me back to some of my favorite players of all time. I'll express who when we get there. Jamal and Big O ain't here today. Jamal may come through if he can. I also shot the link to our HHDG brothers, my brothers at HHDG Media. So if they could pop in, they'll pop in. But yeah, Big O will say some of his in basketball. He incompletely gave a big list. I had to tell him to shrink it. Then he only sent me 2. But we'll give up the 2 that he picked are in the show image. And then we'll shout out Jamal's boxing picks if Jamal doesn't come on the show with us.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. He didn't share it to the
No, that
group
was
chat,
dope.
I seen his name.
Yeah.
I seen his name.
Nice.
And, what's up? You was about to say
No, I'm
something.
saying that was nice. No, I'm saying that's nice. I didn't know he did the boxing, so that's dope.
Yeah. Nobody picked football, which ironic. For us to not pick the football anything, it's interesting. Yeah, I just find it interesting. But we got to kick it off with the Denver Nuggets. Finally, first time in their 47-year history, won the NBA championship. Absolutely claps from us because we're Knicks fans. And it's fuck the Heat.
All day.
It's not fuck the Heat fans. It's not fuck the Heat players individually and all that. It's just the logo.
It's the whole organization.
It's
the whole organization, bro.
Exactly. Our history. But TJ, once again, as I said for the 3rd week in a row, as NBA season is over, Nikola Jokic, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. The man finished in the playoffs number 1 across the league in points, rebounds, and assists for the entire playoffs.
Ridiculous for a 7-footer is unheard and absurd at the same time. Absurd. The shots he was throwing up, and them shits wasn't rattling and bouncing off the backboard. Strictly swish, strictly swappage. The dude is a fucking problem. He's a monster. He's literally a monster, dude.
Yo, and it's always funny. It's always funny when like It'll be a year like this where the person who probably could have, should have won MVP does damage in the playoffs and in the finals like this. You know what I'm saying? Like Joel second round Embiid, I'm not mad that he won because he earned that shit. And the MVP is a regular season award. But
Yes, it is.
what Jokic did in my eyes just proved how close this really, really should have been. Like how much closer the vote should have been, or how, maybe he did deserve it more. But so be it. And congratulations to the Denver Nuggets, him, Jamal Murray, fucking all them cats, Michael Porter Jr., all of them,
Michael
man.
Porter Jr., KCP, yeah,
You see them fucking
all of
bugging
them.
out in the streets, having fun, and that's what it's about, yo. Aaron Gordon, I was watching a video of Aaron Gordon earlier this morning, him wilding out in the streets with all the fans, and yeah, they were all kind of on top of him. They're hopping through the streets, but they let that man live. Like you didn't see nobody like trying to yank his chain, no dumb shit, Like you
Yeah,
seen them just allowing them to have fun, you know what I'm saying? And that's what that shit is about. So big ups to Denver for completing the mission. For real, for real.
but Dan, have you seen the bullshit starting already? Miami's trying to trade for Bradley Beal.
I I've been hearing about that. People were talking what's the best fit for him and yada yada. I like what I forgot who said it, but somebody mentioned like Milwaukee would be a dope fit for him. It would. Not that I want to see it because we want to see our Knicks fucking take another step forward, but yeah, I think Milwaukee would be a
Go
great.
ahead. So would they give up Middleton to get replace Beal? I
Probably,
mean,
but
that's what you got to do.
the question is, do you have to though? Like I don't have the financials and stuff in front of me to even think or consider
Right, right,
if that's the thing. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Um, they also
right.
been there's also been the talks of Dame Lillard in Miami.
Yes,
Which
yes.
I think Dame technically still has like a year or two on his deal, but they're looking, like people are just talking it up that like
He's
he
Superman.
wants out, he should want out, and
Well, if they can't do nothing with this second round draft pick they got to make the team better around him, he's gonna be on the block. He's definitely gonna be on the block. How do you feel about this though, as a Knicks fan,
but before we
with
move
all the
off of
bullshit
Dame,
that's going on and surrounding him?
well, hold on. Before we
Yeah,
move off of Dame, because it sounds like this question is
yeah. Go
going to
ahead.
move off of Dame. Do we hold Dame
Yeah, it is.
accountable? Do we hold Dame accountable for being Mr. I want to stay with this one team and win a championship for this one team like the old school players did? Do we hold him accountable for those words?
Accountable in one sense, like he did all he could. He did all he could to win. They
No,
didn't
right.
surround him. I mean, at some point, falls on the coach and management. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's not like he choked away games and shit like that. Like, it's not like what he would. Let's put it in fair comparison. It's not like Embiid is doing in Philly, not showing up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nah, see,
Dame
I
showed up.
can't even
The
say
rest of
that
the
though.
team,
I can't even say that because
Dame,
for
but
for
Dame showed up though.
I feel you, but to say Embiid didn't show up when Embiid was, I mean, again, we said it, MVP. He was the lone anything on this team. It was the other players around him that failed him too. Just like with Portland, it's everybody else. It's that sad situation of it's everybody but me. Like it ain't
But
me, but
Dan, you can't compare with this dude who's barely scoring 20 points in like two playoff games in a second round series. That's unacceptable for an MVP, bro.
it's
That's just
unacceptable. But
unacceptable.
we can also say, hey,
You
that's defense. Whatever, it's whatever. But I just question it because again, Dame really beat his chest about the whole player movement stuff. And I want to do it for this team, the one team that I was with, and yada yada yada. And that was the case in the 80s too, until you started to see
yeah,
Charles Barkley move, this person move, that person move, you know what I'm saying? So just like how
listen,
people like to call to question LeBron James and talk shit about LeBron because he moved and made great business decisions in each move. Also fulfilled every single contract before he moved on. Never requested
Listen,
trades, none of that.
the perfect example is Kevin Garnett. How many years did he spend in Minnesota before he upped and moved? His career was damn near almost done. He was on the back end of his career before he moved to Boston.
But
You know what
Kevin,
I'm saying?
but Kevin Garnett never stood out there in front of the media and the cameras saying, "I'm staying here for life."
No, but he repped it like he would have stayed there, but nobody was coming to Minnesota to play ball, bro.
Facts.
And that's the
Facts.
issue. It's in Minnesota. It's probably a great city. I've never been there. Heard
I
a lot of
just
good
came
things
from there.
about it.
I just came from there. It's not the worst. We didn't really experience it, but it's not the worst.
Right, right. But I can't imagine winters in that place. You know what I'm saying? Because that could be
Yeah,
the worst. That
exactly, exactly. And I asked my
that could be the worst. You know what I'm
I
saying?
I asked my boy who lives out there, and I asked my nephew who the reason why we was in Minnesota was because of him graduating college, and them shits ain't fun. It don't sound fun. But I'm sure though, I'm sure states like that are well prepared for snow like us in the city or better. You know what I'm saying? Or better. But it is
Yes,
what it is. But
yes,
your question,
yes.
I hope you didn't lose it.
No, 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 no. So my question is, I'm gonna get your opinion about this, your how you feel about this. But even with the drama surrounding this dude recently and him not being available, I think it's because of where he's at. He's not available. I think we should make a run at this dude. How you feel about us trying to trade for Zion right now?
Well, he's been the topic of conversation even on this podcast since last week because of him and his dealings with Mariah Mills and the way and I just a brief side note on last week and how we spoke about him and Mariah going in on him. It's hard to believe when this woman doesn't perform on camera with black men at all. It's hard for me to listen to anything that's said surrounding Zion Williamson, but I digress.
Bro,
I
but the shit she
I
was
think
saying, like the shit she was saying, I was like, you're a porn star. Like you, this is not new to you. Like, what do
yeah, and
I let you do this, I let you do that,
and
and I'm just like, okay,
we can't be out here shaming sex workers and this and that. My thing
no,
is
we're
just
not. We're
my
absolutely
thing.
not.
My thing is just the validity of what you say when you never do black men on camera. That's all I'm saying. That's all I said. But I wouldn't
That's a
mind
strong
it.
point.
I wouldn't mind it because I wanted him as a Knick when when they came out. Do I think we made off
Right.
better with RJ Barrett during this time? Absolutely. But I think
Right.
because it's New York, I think he will show up. I think because think about it like
Yes.
this. Think about it like this. All right. We got what's his why am I blanking on our point guard's name? Why am I blanking?
Brunson.
Jalen Brunson got his best friend
It's
Josh Hart.
Brunson.
Brunson got his best friend Josh Hart to play with him.
Right.
Zion Williamson
Right.
could now return with one of his Duke brethren in RJ Barrett.
Who's also a good friend of his. Yes.
This could be a great chemistry thing when you got groups of friends ready to run through the wall for each other.
Yes.
So to put a positive spin on it, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. So
my bad.
I was listening to a podcast. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, so I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was like, yo, look at all the players who were solid that were in New Orleans that won it out. Chris Paul, Anthony Davis. Even before them, I forgot who was the other big name that was there. There was like all these players never stayed in Louisiana. Then he's like, look at all the people from Louisiana that never stayed there. Lil Wayne. Boosie is the biggest Louisiana dude ever. He lives in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? It's like all the people who are from Louisiana, who rep it to the fullest, do not live or stay there. They might have residence there, but that's just some I'm here for the weekend type shit.
Word.
They do not use that as that mailing address.
Word.
So I found that a very interesting perspective. And I'm like, you know what? Zion could have just been like, yo, fuck it. I'm going to just sit out because I really don't want to rock with this team like this anymore. And probably it's got nothing to do against branding. And I heard a real funny story about the trainer as well because Zion Williamson missed 4 months of the season, the last 4 months of the season with a sore hamstring. Brandon Ingram missed 30 games with a stub toe. A stub toe, bro. If it
Mm.
ain't broken, then you should be out there playing because a stub toe doesn't take 3 weeks to heal.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
but that shit, nah, that shit can linger like a motherfucker. But to take a month off though, like it does speak to, in a way, it does speak to the organization and their medical staffing and stuff like that. If they're keeping players out this long, you know what? Maybe they're keeping players out that long too, because it's like, you know what? We know we ain't gonna be shit. So you might as well get healthy. Yeah, you're getting paid. You might as well just get healthy. Take all the time you need. You know what I'm saying? But the Zion thing and getting back on the court, like Zion had even mentioned himself, he was just like, physically, I feel
He was
fine,
ready. He
but
was ready to play.
no, he said
Right.
physically I feel fine, but mentally I'm not there yet. And like I seen cats on like TikTok and all types of places talking about, yo, if you talking you physically fine, that you should be out there, yada yada. And I'm like, yo, that's a clear sign that you've never played a sport in some type of league level in your life. Because I've always taken this from my standpoint of when I played football and I broke my leg. I played again because I wasn't done playing after I got my leg broken. You know, tibia plateau fracture with now I got a plate and four screws. That first year back of playing consistently, constantly in my head, I'm worried about compensating for making sure that that leg doesn't get hit again. Which, if you're
Yes.
consistently worrying
I know
about it,
exactly what you're talking about.
if you're consistently worrying about an injury, your head is now no longer 100% in that game. Your head is gone. And that's how you get beat. That's how you get beat up.
Bro,
That's how you get hurt
I
again.
I tore ligaments in my ankle playing ball. In a league game, I came down on somebody's foot, rolled my shit to the point where I stretched it out and tore ligaments in my ankle. Was on crutches on a cane for like almost a year. I got an ankle brace on. I'm finally able to get back and start running. And all I'm doing is favoring my leg. I'm not even consciously doing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just people are telling me, "Oh, why didn't you jump for that rebound? Why didn't you jump for the layup?" I'm like, "I did." It's like, "Nah, you. I've seen you. I know you can jump, nigga. Like, why ain't you jumping?" I'm like, "I am jumping." No,
Like in your
I'm
head, you're
afraid.
jumping.
Mentally, I'm afraid to come. Yeah, yeah. My body's not doing it, so I know completely what it's about because you don't want to go through that excruciating pain. One, two, to re-roll it and do that same injury again, you're gonna be completely fucked mentally. And three, it's just it takes time. You have to build up confidence within yourself. The muscle in the ankle was strong. It was fine. I was running up and go down the court, no problem. But me getting mentally past that other hurdle to make me play to the best of my ability, it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And it showed every time I played on the court. And until I got confidence in myself, until I shed the ankle bracelet and really went out and played ball, that's when I was back to normal. But it's shit like that happens, and
Yeah.
people, like you said,
And
if you never
goofies
had an injury during a game
that talk
and
that
come back,
shit,
you don't know. Yeah,
that yeah, that's what I said. And like goofies that don't know, man, and No.
You don't know unless you've been put in that situation before. And then when it actually hits you, you're like, damn, this is what it is. Like I can't, because it's different because you're compensating. First of all, you're compensating other body parts to make up for the bum wheel, the bum lead, the bum leg, the bum ankle, and you're putting stress. So you're making your body work harder instead of making the actual part that you injured work harder, or at least to an equal level. And you're gonna, one, end up hurting yourself again, or two, putting yourself in a position where you're just favoring something that you shouldn't be favoring until you actually clear that mental hurdle. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. You can psych yourself up. You can psych yourself out as much as you want. That shit is not going to be comfortable until you get comfortable. Like, it probably took a hit for you to get back where you was like, oh, okay. Or somebody actually landed on your leg. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to be all right. I took this hit. I can be all right. I can function normally now. And you changed your play after that. You went back to being the player who you were. I know that's how it works for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I rolled the ankle and I was like, oh, it wasn't as bad as it was before, so I'm good. So now, I haven't, thank knock on wood, I haven't had any injuries since, and I'm continuing to play ball in other sports with no problem. I don't even think about it no more. It's a foregone conclusion. So yeah, like you said, goofies who never either played the sport or never
Can you
played
go give me a
injured or played
charger? Hey,
hurt,
quick, quick.
um, they don't know. They're just talking out their ass because they've never put in that position. Now, put that on another level where you're on a professional level making millions of dollars. People
C1, the one for the blocks,
and
the big blocks. Yeah. Not
and that was
the
what
computer one, the iPhone.
you're not on mute. But what I was saying was,
No, the
you
Wi
take that perspective and you put it on a
he was
professional level,
over.
is a different story.
Yeah, I had to go to the phone.
I got you.
Yeah, I had to go to the phone. Sorry, y'all. Experienced technical difficulties because my damn computer decided to want to overheat on me, and my phone is the next best option, which I had to plug in to charge. So, but yeah, man, like TJ, you broke it down well while I was gone, while I was out of a audio commission. That yeah, it's just people who don't understand and don't know what it's like to play sports and be injured. It's a motherfucker. It can be you don't know, and I'm sorry to say the keeps talking.
You're on
Don't
mute. I can't
know.
hear you. There you go.
I'm all types of technical difficulties this week. Sorry, y'all. Well, real dads figure this shit out. There's always a way. But but yeah, man, I say you said it greatly while I was having my technical difficulties. It's just if you've never been there, you just don't know. And that's why I can't be mad at Zion for saying, I'm out. Yeah, like I'm feel physically, I feel fine, but mentally I'm not there. Like you never been there, you just don't know. You just don't know. But that's part why I like him being on the Knicks because of the chemistry situation that I had described earlier. So I wouldn't be too mad at it. It's just a what do we do post like in efforts of getting him? Like, is this where we make other Knicks fans happy and get rid of what's the name, Julius Randle? Like I wouldn't want to see that. Like I would rather see them to be like a bench rotational situation.
Randall's not coming off the bench with the money we're paying him. That's just You gotta
I
get
didn't say
Randall out of
coming
there.
off. I didn't say coming off. There's just it's for adjustments and switches in matchups.
I don't know. That's that's too many mouths to feed at that point with Randall and Zion wanting the ball because he's a bully. Like him and Randall's game is very similar, and he's just getting his jump shot down to where he's hitting threes at a decent clip. But you'd have to move Randall for Zion to be there. It's not going to work with both of them on the floor.
Yeah, and
It's
I'm not
not,
ready to
and it's
give
not
up
it's
on
not enough.
Julius Randle.
You're not. His
Nah.
attitude, man, is just. I love him as a player, but his attitude, man, he brings the whole team down when he's not in it, and I hate that shit. I really hate it because he's the only one that's not acquiescing for the team. He's being very selfish at that point, and you're not gonna win like that. You're not gonna win like that. Not on that team.
This is the week of technical fucking difficulties. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is the week of technical difficulties. This week, I'm definitely gonna have to freaking chop up the audio version of the podcast. But yo, it is what it is. But now, because I had to go to this, and I might be able to switch back to my computer in a little bit, man. I realized it's like I needed it to cool down because you know how to we're outside like usual. The weather's freaking amazing,
Yeah,
but the sun
yeah.
was like freaking
My
just
phone,
targeted.
my phone did the same thing 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "Yo, my shit overheated." That's why I put the umbrella up because it needs some kind of shade. It can't just take that
And
direct heat.
and I'm on a porch, but I turned my body to where the light doesn't hit the camera right, so it darkens my face. Like I was trying to hit it to where
Hmm.
the light was hitting me, but it was hitting me all right. It was hitting me and freaking heating up one side of my face, one side of my body, whatever, man. But it is what it is, though. But this affects when we get to the father's portion, me showing the pictures. But nonetheless, we can still mention it, man. But fuck, you know what? Let's try this again because I had a TikTok question of the week that I wanted to go over, and it was from a man that went by Stro on TikTok. Big hip hop guy, but hip hop by way of rap music more than the culture overall. And y'all know how I am about that. If y'all don't know by now, I'm a culture first, then rap music. But let's get back into this computer because my shit is looking a little better now. So let me get out of here and get back on the joint.
You got
Okay.
me. You got me.
Yep. Got you, brother. You're good to
All right,
go.
we back. We back on the computer mainly because the sun went down. Well, not that it went down. The fucking
It
the cloud
moved. It moved.
and it didn't help the case either. Where I had my freaking I had my computer plugged in, so as a tech guy, taking in all that heat from the charging block along with the sun is just not a beautiful
Yeah,
combination.
ain't got no room to breathe. Needs to
Word,
breathe.
but 8 years with the starting five. Well, actually, no, we're in year number 9 with the starting five podcast. Eventually, we'll get to a studio set up to where we can all we can smoke while recording and be in the place at the same time. Eventually,
That
we'll make that happen. Eventually, we'll make that happen. But now that I'm back on the computer, let me get to the TikTok question of the week because there was a discussion Jamal wanted to have, but we'll wait till when he's back because he brought up the thing which was about the Billboard 100 and not having a top rap album.
I saw that.
But we'll talk about
Number
that
one
then. But let's listen to this question from the brother.
Actual question. What is the appropriate time that should pass before an album can be considered to be a classic, in your opinion? Me personally, I think it should be like NFL Hall of Fame consideration, which is 5 years after the album drops. Of course, we all know one actual real life year is like 24 months of hip hop years. So if a hip hop album has reached that 5-year-old mark and still bangs, then we can talk. Well, I hate this idea nowadays that everything has to happen right now. You know what I'm saying? Shit can't simmer and develop. Everything has to be crowned right now in the moment. There's no such thing as an instant classic in hip hop, man. It's like making instant pot roast, dog. Shit don't even sound right.
And to that point right there, I agree with the brother. There's no
Yes,
such
sir.
thing as an instant classic. Now, for me, this goes into battle rap heavy because every battle, yo, this is a classic. This one's gonna be a classic. This one's gonna be a classic. There's very few battles that are consistently talked about on a daily basis that are considered true classics. But people talk like every battle is a classic. But on this approach here, somebody in the comments said what I'm about to say now. To me, when it comes to a rap album, it's got to be seasoned for at least 10 years. And if it's something that can trigger emotion, trigger memories and stuff in you, then it's a classic. But the issue behind the conversation is also subjectivity. The opinions of what's a classic and what's not is always going to remain subjective. Just like my top 5, my top 10 will not be your top 5 or 10. You know,
Right.
Now, as far as a timeline thing, like the one timeline I agree with is back when Mr. C was still on High 97. This
Yeah.
was the decade where he said, yo, a throwback, it has to be at least 4.5 years old for it to be a throwback. And that much I agree with. Give it 4.5, at least 5 years, then we could consider it a throwback. But classic, it's got to hit that at least 10 to 20 year mark. And definitely at least 10 at minimum. But 20 where 15 to 20 where people can still talk about where they were when they heard this album. Where, you know, like for instance, somebody was playing Onyx on I think it was DJ Miss ID was playing Onyx on the radio in one of her mixes. It immediately brought me back to living in Port Richmond and the summer that me and my boys was we had Back the Fuck Up and Cypress Hill Black Sunday on loop. That's a classic in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that are undeniable, like Dr. Dre's The Chronic, the Wu-Tang album, undeniable classics. You know, almost any Wu solo album, almost any.
Right.
You know, because I will consider you guys' first album, Golden Arms, as a classic. Some people will be like, "Fuck that shit." You know what I'm saying? The one Wu solo album that I can go back to the most, Capadonna's The Pillage. I was just running that yesterday. Every joint on that is a classic to me. It's memorable to me. It's something that I can go back to each and every time. What say you?
All right. So I'm a fan of what your boy said at being 5 years, because if it's a classic at 5 years, another 5 years is not going to change my opinion on it being a classic. You understand? Like the Low End Theory, it was still banks to this day, right? Classic album. Instant classic because you don't know where you're at. Like you said, time and place, how you felt. Everybody was in a different position when they first heard that album or a few songs off that album. So I give you that. But 5 years later, I'm still banging songs and playing it straight through, no skips or whatever. I'm still listening to that album. There's nothing going to change my opinion in another 5 years unless they did some horrible shit as a person for me not to go back and listen to that album just like I listened to it on day one. So 5 years, yeah, I get it. I can say, yeah, so a situation like that where
Now,
you're not going to respect the artist anymore.
Not to cut you though, but
yeah,
it's not saying that his albums still aren't classics. We just might not
Right.
we just might not
We're
go
not
back to.
right. Right. The work was there. The work is there, right? The product is there. When it came out, it was undeniable. You listen to it years later, still undeniable. People have to raise themselves up to that bar. If you're not raising it, that's the bar. If you can't meet the bar, then you're not gonna get in that category. You're not gonna fit because you didn't go to that bar, and that's the bar that's been set. So 5 years, definitely, I can consider you a classic because 5 years is a long time. No matter how quick it passes by, time goes by quick. 5 years is you're like, oh shit, I thought that was 2 years ago. No, it's been 5 years, bro. Now you're like maybe on year 7, you're like, this shit still knocks. Another 3 years or 4 years is not going to change your opinion about how you feel about that album. So I think 5 years is the barometer and sets the tone for what makes a classic album classic. And we
Word.
all have our favorite. We all have Aquemini, another banging ass album, front to back, banging. Album's decades old now. It's a classic. You didn't need some of these albums that we grew up with and came up with. You didn't need nobody to tell you a classic. In your mind, it was already there. That's an instant classic to you.
Right.
You might have a few people in your majority or in your circle that are going to agree with you, but yeah, let it marinate, let it sit. Go back and revisit it. There's plenty of albums I'll go back and revisit it. That was like, oh shit, all the Doom shit I was late on. You know what I'm saying? That I went back to. That Mad Villainy album is phenomenal.
It's a masterpiece.
It's phenomenal, dude.
And the
you
story
can't tell
behind,
me it wasn't bang.
And the story
It's
behind
a banger, yeah.
how they recorded that album. Them brothers was never in the same room to record any of it. They were in the same place, but Madlib would be in this room cooking up the beats. Doom would be upstairs in another room recording and doing the rhymes over the beats. Like they was, and it's a flawless masterpiece.
Yeah. So I mean, you take all that into consideration, the process. You know, there's plenty of times like, yo, I wish I was in the studio to see how they cooked that shit up or like heard that verse for the first time because you'd have lost your fucking mind. You know what I'm saying? Like these are things that make an album classic, in my opinion. That's the way I feel about it. So 5 years, yeah. I mean, 10 years, you're stamped. You were stamped 5 years ago, bro. You don't need to do anything else
Right.
to put that. Just do the anniversary concert. 10 years. I did this album 10 years ago, and now I'm going to do an anniversary show. Watch the fucking tickets get sold out no matter where you go because there's hundreds of people feel the same way you do about the album.
You just
Fucking
went,
certified, bro.
you just went
Go
to
out
the
there and
Nas
get your
one.
bread.
You just went to the Nas one.
Yeah. Oh my God. And he did all the King's Disease albums, and then he did his first album. People went crazy. It was phenomenal. There's nothing you can take away from that album that you like, oh my God. Everything, every track that came on, word for word. He could have said nothing and the crowd would have spit word for word every verse of every song he spit on that joint.
Yeah, see, when you
That's
say
what
shit
it
like
is.
that, like
That's what it is.
a classic is, I'm sure we all seen the video of Anita Baker trying to do Sweet Love, and she couldn't do it because the whole crowd was doing the song for her, and she loved every minute of it. But I was gonna say,
Bro.
speaking of the bar, the brother JG came through on the. Hopefully, he's on the right side of I-95.
Yeah, man. I caught that mess like 2 days after because I had to run back because where we were shooting, and it's a mess. But I'm good now, man. Happy to be back. That shoot is over. Little late, but happy to be back on with y'all fellas, man.
Word. So the TikTok question of the week came from my man Stro, and it was asking, how do you determine what rap album is a classic? And he said 5 years. TJ agreed with the 5 years. I personally say give it at least 10. But what say you? I'm okay with the 5 too personally, but the 5 can also die in some people's eyes. But
I'm
it's
okay.
all subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective. I'm okay with 5. I think some albums could be even sooner. You know when you got that masterpiece going. I mean, Illmatic was right away. You knew you was listening to something special. You know what I mean? And something that was banging from top to bottom. But 5 years is a good amount of time to be declared a masterpiece. Because some of them right out the gate, you knew what you was listening to. You know what I mean? You knew right away, especially if it was game changing, or it moved the meter, either in production, either in lyrics, or just how it moved the culture. You know
Word. Because
So-
like for instance, this is one of them albums I always love to bring back up. Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. Now there might have been sections of Brooklyn that was fucking with that album right from the gate. But I know, me being in Staten Island and seeing other places, a lot of people didn't adapt to that album as quick. It took a re-release of that album years later to remind people how fire that album is, and it eventually grew into becoming an undeniable classic. But right out the
Well
gate,
stated.
a lot of people slept.
Yeah.
I know I was one of them. I can admit it. I was one of those who, not yet. But then I started to hear other Jay-Z shit. Because I say it, when I first heard of Jay-Z, I was like, who is that? A fake AZ? Because of the name. You know what I'm saying? Just because of the name. But we see who lasted longer.
Yeah.
And we see who put out more undeniable classics and legendary
Real
shit.
talk.
Yeah.
I liked that album when it first came out. I still like that album to this day.
Oh yeah. I was.
But
Go ahead, TJ.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. It took me a minute to appreciate him and his skills. Like, especially as I got older. Like now, I appreciate that. There's motherfuckers now who still think he's overrated, or he's not as skilled. And I was like, man, that guy drops triple entendres in his bars, triple entendres and setups for stuff that don't make sense until you get 3 bars later. You know what I mean? And his you need a lot of times you need mature ears. He's talking about grown man shit, and that's why a lot of the younger folks probably don't appreciate him. But right now, in the state of where hip hop is, I appreciate everything he puts out.
Bro, it's the microwave culture now. It is a microwave culture now. That's why these cats is putting out 3 albums in a year, or mixtapes, or dropping singles left and right. And it's so much you can't even appreciate the shit that they originally pushed out. You know what I'm saying? It's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. It's like, nah, man, we take time and sit back and listen to the lyrics, listen to the beat, understand and appreciate the music for what it is, and then let's move on. We don't need, your crew to drop 5 albums in like 3 months. Who's listening to all that shit? Not me.
We want quality over quantity, man.
There's rappers that already got an album per month this year. Shit, it was like 2 years ago. Papoose put out an album a month. But to me, that's okay. It's okay because you know what? You want to display your work ethic, fine. That's cool. Because when we think about a person like, rest in peace to Pac, whose birthday just passed a couple days ago, right? We always talk about how Pac they say he had like 6, every album Pac had at least 60 songs ready to go for an album.
Mm-hmm.
And think about all the music that isn't released.
Yeah.
So to where today, because of microwave culture, because of to keep yourself relevant, you gotta kind of keep pumping stuff out there on your own, especially if you don't get that one joint that becomes a buzz and a hit.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, just let it out. And it's
right.
easier now because the game is yours if you are not tied to a major.
Right.
Where we can go ahead, my bad.
No. And it's interesting because it kind of brings it to a point that I put in the chat group earlier.
That's exactly where I was segueing.
It's like, It's like eventually there was gonna come a time where the older generation was right about the younger generation, and I think it's here. I think it, I think it's here because not a single number one rap hit or album on the charts this year. Hmm.
I wonder. I mumble why.
Exactly.
And it can't. It's not.
I mumble why.
It's not. And it's not even quote unquote the mumble rap era anymore because it ain't mumble rap. It's we're in this lane of get sturdy music.
Yeah, it's just there's
Which
no.
which
It just
but
yeah.
here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. Number one, as I like to repeat always, for people who grew up in our lane of rap is still there.
Of
No ifs,
course.
ands, or buts about it. The mainstream level of rap and music today, it's past our prime. It's past our time. And
Hmm.
it's okay that the kids got what they got. This is what they want. Cool. We don't
Hmm.
have to like it, but I respect what they're doing because number one, they're just bringing a different lane and level to our culture and the music of the culture. And two, they're expressing themselves on how they want to express themselves.
Correct.
We should never have to deny that. But when you're talking about
No.
that Billboard 100, though, we're also taking into account nowadays it's streams more than sales, and sales are represented by streams. If nobody's streaming your bullshit, that's on you. What you're making bullshit, even though people like your bullshit, but people ain't streaming your bullshit because
Right.
a
Dan,
lot more people's ears also have expanded outside of just rap.
Hmm.
A lot of people who are just not hip hop culture livers and lovers like us, but are just fans of hip hop culture,
Hmm.
they like other shit, and that's okay. But
That
they're
is
also
okay.
can
not
I
paying
ask this
for it.
que- can I ask this question? Can I ask this question? When Billboard does these 100 lists, how many black people are in the room?
That
Now
part. That part.
this is a
I,
great question,
I,
but I would think more than ever before
you would think.
because
I would like to think that too, but
the dominant producers,
the results
are
don't
us.
show that.
This may be true, but I think the other thing is a question has to be asked: has hip hop moved away from being a writer's medium, and is that part of the problem?
Yes,
Writer's
yes,
medium meaning like
yes.
by print and magazine or by the writer of
Meaning
the music.
writing of the music, meaning the lyrics, all that stuff, bars,
Well, mainstream wise,
Storytelling, all of that.
main,
Yeah.
telling a story. Yes, telling a
main
story.
mainstream wise,
Hmm.
it's not. But it all depends on the artist you're looking for. Because when you go to the Kendricks, he's an obvious, undeniable. Like
Of
his
course,
his stuff is being studied in places like Harvard. He's winning Nobel Peace Prizes and Writer of the Year awards, things like that. You know,
rightfully so. Yeah.
you bring up somebody who I'm not truly I don't discredit what he does, but I don't listen to his music. A J. Cole
Hmm.
forever stays in the mainstream name and lane,
Hmm.
but might not be the quote unquote hottest thing on the street right now. There are people of this youth and generation that write, but you have to, as I like to always say, stop being a hip hop lazy and go search for it. Because
But Dan,
the force feeding of music nowadays is oh shit, Ice Spice, and no shots at Ice Spice. Big ups to her and to her making her lane. But
Right.
but oh shit, you made this thing that got you millions of followers. Yeah, we'll work with you now and put you on this bigger platform, put you in front of these places and people that we could get you out there further. But then now that becomes a representation of the whole in some sort of a way.
Yeah.
also
And
Dan,
that ain't cool.
also there's no more artist development. You get on a YouTube and you push your shit out and it's fire.
Right.
People are jumping on it. There's no developing these artists to further even to further their career. You could be a one hot hit flash in the pan for a good summer and a half, and we can
Mhm.
never hear from you again because there was no development past what they did at that point in time.
Yeah, they
You
just
know what I'm
want to earn
saying? Yeah,
earn off these kids as soon as possible and then discard them.
right. And then move on to the next one. Just
Yeah,
discard them and keep it going. There's no artist development anymore.
And
These
that's
people
what
are
all
not
it is.
growing. They're not growing with their music. They're not growing with the culture. They're not growing with their time. And it's just passing them by. They're getting their quick buck and they're getting out or they're
that's
forced out.
Like
that's
you,
capitalism for you, though.
like you said before, TJ, about the old school show, get back on the road 10 years and perform that album. These kids nowadays, like their old school show is going to be 1,000 artists on one bill coming out to
Mhm.
Yes,
perform one song
yes,
each.
Yeah,
But
yes,
that's true.
yes.
because
That's what it's going to be. I see it already. I see it
but
Right.
already in some of these
it's
shows.
because it has a lot to do with what you mentioned, but it's the new structure of how these labels are working. These labels aren't working to craft somebody and mold somebody for the long term. The labels are now taking the structure of, oh shit, we're seeing our grasp on everything slip. So let's just take their buzz, their following, and put them here. And they're only accepting people with built-in fan bases now. And that's it. Like,
Yeah,
for instance, like here's a sad case. For instance, the chick Scarlett, who got the fire song that is really old school New York. Get the fuck out of New York. You know what I'm saying? It's some
right,
really
right.
old school MOP-ish hard vibes from New York, right?
Yes,
I watched a clip of her on a Vlad TV interview, and Vlad talked about it like, oh, you turned down like $250,000 deals and things like that. We're hearing, and she was like, yeah, like nobody ain't got $1 million for me. Like, yo, I'm freaking buzzing right now, popping right now. This is where development and education come in. Vlad had to then
yes.
talk to her and describe to her, like, you do understand that if they do put $1 million behind you, that ain't your money. Like you can
It's a
it's what
loan.
you can, right. It's pretty much a loan, and it's like what you can recoup off of that will be yours, or what it's they have to recoup first, and what you can make as profit will be yours.
Yeah, these kids want the
And
money and want the production and everything that come behind it
right.
and not come out of their pocket at all. It's not
And
going to happen.
she sat there clueless, like, oh, like I didn't know that. Like they're taking advantage of how dumb, and I hate to say it like that, but they're taking advantage of how dumb they are.
They don't have older people in their camp either, though, Dan, because they don't think we can relate to that shit. So,
And who better to be in this conversation with than my family? Happy Father's Day to the homie Wiki Ian jumping in. What
Peace,
up,
peace.
Wiki?
Happy Father's Day,
hey,
y'all.
hey, happy Father's Day, brother.
So if you were listening and we were talking about, like, we first led off with the TikTok question of the week was what's the time length on determining a classic? But then we segued it into the conversation behind the Billboard 100 and how there's no rap in the Billboard 100 right now. And we were all kind of describing how, no more artist development, but the no more artist development is because the labels are just taking what you have as a machine and
That's it.
taking your machine and implanting it, giving you money, but making you clueless to the point that you don't realize you got to pay this money back, i.e. the story I just described, the Scarlett on Vlad TV, when Vlad had to school her on how this shit works, and with HHDG Media, the podcast, like you talk to rappers all the time that are in our lane of shit that we should be propping up if we want to see people in the sound and what we want to hear.
Right. Yeah, and just what you're talking about, it's a machine, like you said, and a lot of them talk about that. And at the same time, some of them that have been signed but didn't get that notoriety learn from that, and is exactly why they stick to being independent.
Word. Like I listen to Drink Champs every week, and it's always an interesting question between Nori and EFN. And when they do their drink quick time with Slime, they always ask these artists, major or independent. And Nori is I'm a major guy because I don't want to do the work. Let them do the work for me. While EFN is I'm the independent guy because if I put in the work, I reap the rewards.
Right.
And that's the
It's
difference
how
in
you
that.
want. It's how you want to get your money, Dan. It's how you want to get your money at the end of the day. Do you want it all
Right.
up front, or do
That's
you want it
true.
on the back end where you could possibly make, I don't know, 5 or 10 times more than what you're making now? But you got to see that, and that's
Yeah.
where the development comes in. If you can't
Mm,
see, you can't project yourself. Everybody say, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a star today." What about a star 5 years from now? What about a
right.
star 8 years from now? Are you going to be a one-hit wonder performing on the Vegas Strip, hoping somebody comes to your show, or are you
Mm,
going to be selling out reunion tours all across the country and overseas? And
Right.
everybody wants that legacy, but you're not doing or taking the proper steps to build that legacy. You're not
you
you're
got
not staying on brand with your content and what you need to do to grow. If fans love you, they will grow with you. They will
Yep.
grow with you, and they will follow you to the ends of the time. If if you set yourself up the right way. We've seen it all the time. We have Jay-Z stands, Nas stands, all these Eminem stands, whatever you want to call them. They're gonna ride with you through when the times is low and when the times are high because you've built that insular thing already that kept you afloat all these years previously. So you could have a bad album. You
Say
could
it
have a
right there.
couple of
Yeah.
bad singles. It's not the end of the world for you because you've already built in that fan base.
Everything you mentioned is valid, but also it speaks to the transition of times. Because, like you said, the labels at the time were able to carefully craft certain artists and help them build a certain way. All the while, those artists were still building their own name on their own. Like you mentioned, the Eminem, he was in the Scribble Jam circuit. He was in the battle rap circuit throughout Detroit and other places. He moved to New Jersey to work with the Outsiders and other places, Raucous and things like that, to consistently build his own name. Then once Dr. Dre got a hold of him, then the machine was able to take that and then send it this way. Which, in some
Right.
respects, when you look at it in today's thing, now that it's still kind of the same, but you put in all the legwork beforehand. But now I don't think these kids are signing these deals where Master P gave you motherfuckers the blueprint. When he
Right.
quote unquote cashed out of the rap game, he built his shit on his own. When No Limit was a thing, it was No Limit Records and Cash Money too. No Limit Records did their thing, and then they did a major distribution deal to make themselves look like majors and was still
Right.
cashing in. Then Master P took his shit, went to a label, and said, "Here, you could buy this for this much." Without having
Also,
to sign a deal to do any new albums and all that, I'm bringing you this. Excuse me. The way the kids are now is, we're bringing you my 2.1 million followers, but the way it works nowadays, that doesn't mean the 2.1 million is going to
is
follow along.
buy your shit.
Right.
Right.
It's what.
Yeah.
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 Hmm.
So
Like,
here's what I think, and I think this is a generational thing. These kids today are not trying to put in the grind, bro. They don't want to hear that shit. They don't want to hear
nah,
about grinding.
I can't agree with that. I
I,
can't
I
agree.
I see it, man. I see it.
Ian,
They want the answers to the problems instead of figuring the problem out. That's what I've
I,
seen. I
I
can't
think
speak for the whole group, but I've seen it a lot.
I was gonna say, I think on the mainstream level, I will agree with you. But Ian, you could speak to that again. You talk to artists who all they do is put in the grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll start off with saying the majority of them, like you said, they have their followers. What they continuously do is they interact with their fans. They ask questions
Okay.
like, "What would you like me to put out?" It's like, say they just dropped the album. They'll ask them, give a vote. What music video? What's your favorite track off the album? And they'll go with that and actually go and put a video out for that. They'll ask them, what type of physicals are y'all really looking to buy? And the obvious thing now still is consistent is vinyl. So, and they'll be out there supporting.
Right. And it's like I said, it's different levels with different avenues within
Yeah.
this space. Because we're in the mainstream, we're in this Get Sturdy era. And
Mhm.
so everybody's making this quote unquote, everybody's just following the trend of making this Get Sturdy music. Okay, they might pop, Flex might play them on the radio now 1 or 2 times here and there, but then that's as far as you got, because you think I'm going to continue my hustle of doing these shows and doing this one song, but I'm on.
Yeah.
But
What the-
what's your follow through?
That's true. I was gonna say I didn't see the Vlad interview yet, but what did Vlad say to Scarlett?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna look for it while we keep,
Oh, okay.
keep talking about it. I'll look for the clip because I
All
didn't
right.
see I didn't watch the whole thing, but I'll look for the clip while y'all keep talking about this.
All right. Yeah, and like what CJ was saying, a lot of these artists that have like millions of followers, they want that bag up front. I mean, and like he said, it's obvious.
Yeah,
It is obvious. Go ahead,
I
Jamal.
don't want to. Yeah, and I'm trying to do my best not to compare, not to make an error comparison, because, and I get it, the younger artists, they have to change because the industry's changed too, from the way it was back when we considered the golden age of hip hop. So, and it's uncertain now, but it's one of those things, those dilemmas where you have a changing industry, and I guess I have to just fall back a little bit and not try and say how some of these folks should operate because it's tumultuous right now.
Like here it
You know?
is. I
Yeah.
found a clip. Let's listen to this real quick.
Yo, could you believe this record label going to try to offer me $100,000 to sign? $100,000? You gonna keep me in the hood? I'm trying to get out the hood. Y'all got all that money. Oh, these record labels got all these billions of dollars, and you can't give me 1 million out of the billions? I'll be back next time. But they never played with me like that again. Somebody offered 100,000. Somebody offered 250,000. Then now somebody offered 800,000, and we just gotta keep it going, man. Gotta raise the bar, raise the price up.
Which I will give her. I'm pausing right there, just off that statement. I'll give her props for wanting to push harder. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But
hey, listen, right now you're buzzing and you got a lot of cosigns and there's songs that are reacting and going viral. Just tax them as hard as you can right now. You know what I mean? Get as big of a bag as you can. And really, but more importantly, just try to find the right situation, because ultimately all these dollar amounts are all loans, right? It's not like they're really giving it to you in your pocket. They're saying, okay, we're going to give you $1 million, but you have to earn that back. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's really kind of like a bank. Like, okay, we're going to give you this $1 million, we're going to give you this budget and blah, blah, but you got to earn it all back until you see any profit after that, which is the whole point. You don't want that $1 million to be the last.
So wait, you don't keep the money they give you?
Not exactly.
And I'm gonna pause it right there so we don't get no.
See that reaction?
But that's what I'm talking about. Right there.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with artist development. That is artist education.
Yes.
Yeah, she genuinely didn't know though, so I'm not gonna be mad at her for that. She genuinely didn't know.
Yeah.
And probably had nobody to instruct her on that, so I'm not gonna hold that against her.
And that
Nobody.
that goes right there to what I talk about, and some artists that I've interviewed actually put in that legwork to educate younger musicians exactly on that, so they will never have that reaction. They'll come prepared and understand what they need to come to the table with, understand that contract. And that was a genuine reaction though that she just gave though.
It 1,000% was. It 1,000% was. But that's the lane that I'm talking about, where a lot of these cats don't understand that. They don't understand that, and it would benefit you if you already got your buzz. Then you build your own label situation and work with distribution. Like I said, Master P gave everybody the motherfucking blueprint. You ain't got to make them say, You just got to make them come and follow.
Yeah.
Pied Piper shit. You just got to make him come along for the ride with you. You know?
And I feel like with today's technology, two artists that always come to mind is Rock Marciano and Hus Kingpin, because what they do with their releases is they put it directly on their own website before it goes to all the DSPs. So they're getting that money directly to them first, and then let these major corporations like Spotify, Apple Music, then you can go and start streaming my shit, sell my music.
Yeah, because we already know the streaming doesn't pay.
Yeah.
The streaming doesn't pay out the way that they thought it does. Even with Tidal situation and Tidal allegedly paying more than the others, like it still doesn't pay much compared to what you can do. Shout out to our good brother Tracy Lee. He does the same thing for every album now.
Yep.
The same thing for every album. He lets it rock on his website first. And that's how you gauge who's truly fucking with you and who's not. And then you roll to the streaming. Because you don't want it to be stifled to where nobody's hearing it. You still want it to be accessible. But you also, you got to learn to gain your capital first, especially when you have your own built-in audience. You have your own built-in audience, and then you go to the labels like, here's a scroll of what I've done and what I can do. And I can do this on my own. If you can't match this or double this, where I'm keeping this much, then why work with them? When today's music, everybody gets out there the same ways. It's not like how it was before, where you had to quote unquote remain underground and I gotta be in 42nd Street. I gotta hand, the mistake that these cats make, hand them the CD. Like I actually had somebody a week ago try to push a CD on me, and I said to him straight up and down, I was just like, you're doing it wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're doing it wrong nowadays. I don't take you should have a QR code or something like that. He said, and he flipped the CD over, had a QR code. I was like, let me scan that. Yeah. I was like, if I see you again, I'm gonna let you know how it was.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the dude's music. I didn't remember it, but because you just gave the vibe off of your CD was gonna become a road coaster. You know what I'm saying? Your CD was gonna be a road coaster, but when you're still stuck in that grind, cool, you're grinding. Can't hate on the grind, can't hate on the hustle, but you got to move with technology. You should be business
Absolutely.
Cards. Hit this QR code. Here's my website. With business cards still works. Jamal, what did I do with the business cards last year? And I still have them. It had our logo on it.
Yep.
And all it had on the back was a QR code.
Yep.
Plain black and white. The logo should have intrigued you enough as is. Hit the QR code. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to read a lot on the card. Just bong.
Yep. And the next best thing to do with QR codes, which I've seen a few times, but I'm going to keep saying, put it on your merchandise. Somebody see your merch and don't know nothing about it, let them scan that QR code that's right on your merch. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, whatever.
Yeah. No doubt.
So it goes to but to spin it back to the Billboard, like a lot of what we talked about is part why they're not on the Billboard 100, because they're not doing it right. Some of these people aren't doing it right. It goes back to the quality of music. Some people still ain't putting out quality. When we think of rap, like, you look at like a Jack Harlow who can rap. His music ain't for me, but he can rap. But maybe the masses just, I'm not fucking with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just things like that, and not to target him. It's just sometimes this is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You see, like you say, you see an Ice Spice. Okay, everybody's a fucking munch. What more do you have after telling us men that we're munches and you got a little booty on you? What more
you got to keep working on other music that to keep you relevant. That's the whole thing. Yep.
Exactly. And you want to see more of today's rap artists on that, then start supporting the rap that you enjoy. If you want a certain lane, you have to hit their websites. You have to hit their streams. Make their streams go up 1 million song, 1 million plays per month or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? You have to be sometimes you have to be the change that you want to see, and that's it. Involve yourself in that way, whether you choose to want to make music or not.
Yeah.
You want to remain a fan, then be a fan, then truly be a fan to who. That's why, like, for me, and I don't know how y'all did, but for me, this is why I was always so selective. Like, I was not like you, Ian. You fucking buy everything. Me, I was selective in who I paid for, because, like we mentioned with the classic album thing, I want to make sure I'm not buying a dud from somebody.
Yeah,
And
I got you.
And there are like the one album I know I bought because of one single was Fat Pat's album because of Wanna Be a Baller. And then I in turn liked the album. You know what I'm saying? In turn, I like the album. But after that, I'm very, very careful with who I am paying for. I just don't, even when buying vinyl till this day, if I even do have the money to go buy vinyl, unlike we were doing for each other like a decade ago, at least, you know what I'm saying? I don't just go out there and just buy anybody's shit. Now I will pay for the shit that I specifically want. Unless
that's the benefit. That's the benefit of streaming, Dan. You can listen to it before you buy it now.
Yeah, but I also though it's more like I'm buying like collector edition shit. Like I started showing on my TikTok.
Yeah.
Like I have the 1 of 100 big box sets of the Purple Tape. You know, the Midnight Marauders album, which I know I gave Ian a copy of. I think I bought 3 of them. I was able to grab 3 of them. The 1 of 1,000 Midnight Marauders that was half green, black line in the middle, half red. Like I'm buying shit like that. Like I have the Ghostface. Yeah, like I have the Ghostface Iron Man album that I have it, and it's on a gold CD. I think it's supposed to be real gold. I wouldn't know because I never even took the plastic off the wrapper. I got the ODB collector edition CD that came with the wallet, with the fake food stamp card. I've never opened that plastic because I'm not opening it. Ian hit me off with the Jizza album on CD that came with the chessboard in it. I opened it because I was curious to see it, but I never touched the CD. Like I'm collector shit. Like I got the Woo W single of Cream. I got the Jay Dilla police badge of Fuck the Police. Like shit like that. You know, like I'm collectible shit that I know that I like the joint and I'm careful on who I spend on. But you're right, TJ.
Yeah.
Streaming.
Streaming.
Shout outs to this brother. Shout outs to Tony in the comments. He said, I'm gonna need that all those Wu-Tang got you, by the way. This motherfucker Ian, he doesn't rival you as far as the vinyl collection. But as far as a Wu-Tang collection, this dude is on a quest to find every single Wu-Tang record possible.
Okay.
And he's got some shit. Like he
that's dope.
I told him I had a fucking what was it? I thought it was GP Wu, but it was a lot of Darkman's joint. I think he found that. He found the GP Wu album on vinyl. Like he digs.
He's on it. That's dope.
He's got some shit. But as I say to everybody, nobody compares to you. Nobody compares to you with this shit. Yeah. Well, but before we move on, just to answer the question of a classic, what's the time length on what becomes a classic to you? Like how many years passed?
I still think you can't put a time on it. It all comes down to just being memorable to different generations and being played in different venues, small venue, stadium, people remembering those lyrics. There's really no time on what can be considered a classic, but you remember that album back to back.
Word. And yeah, and like you said, it's subjective. It's subjective. It's what you choose and what you deem.
Mhm.
Because if we all had to fucking go with a universal list of anything, then Pac and Big would have to be in all of our top fives. Michael Jordan must be number one in everybody's top fives. Like, what is dumb shit like that? Am I wrong? Michael Jordan must
No.
be number one in everybody's list, allegedly.
Speaking of Jordan, did you see how much money he made off the sale of his shares of the
No,
Charlotte Hornets?
ridiculous.
No, I didn't.
Bro, he bought the Charlotte Hornets for $200 and something million, maybe 252. He sold his shares for $3 billion with a B.
That's
$3
crazy.
billion.
That's called an investment, and he's still a
The man
minority
is.
and he's still a minority owner.
It's not like he wasn't set for life before, creating generational wealth, legacy wealth, whatever you want to call it. Your man just platinumized everything he's done with that sale right there.
Word.
That's
But
ridiculous.
While TJ and we just mentioned Michael Jordan, let's get into our main topic. And you can rock out with us, Ian, and check out these lists, and you can add some to each list on your own. The top fathers in son and daughter duos, or more than duos, in sports.
Mhm.
That's the list right there. I made the image with a bunch of people that we all picked from. But let's start with O's pick, since he's not here and he only ended up finalizing with two names. Dell, he only said Dell and Steph, but he got both his sons in the league, Steph and Seth. To be Dell Curry, who was known as a shooter, and to birth the greatest shooter we've ever seen. Jamal, that's one hell of a gene pool right there.
That's one hell of a shooting family. And I remember back in the day, I was hoping the Knicks would pick up Del Curry because, you know, the Knicks we've been bricking for 30 years, man. So, so the Knicks have been
I.e.
devoid
the
of
past playoffs. So.
for shooting. So I remember Dell being a sharpshooter back then. But to produce two sons who can shoot like that's the genetic lottery right there, man.
For real. But next
Yo,
up,
you always want your kids to do better than you, right? And he did it.
He did that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Facts. Next up,
he did that anthem.
He picked Joe and Kobe, Dean Bryant, TJ. Like this was a no-brainer as far as greatness in the sport of basketball is concerned. Again, phenomenal offspring, 5-time champion. Rest in peace, Kobe. And produced another daughter. Rest in peace, Gigi, who was on her way.
I mean, Kobe's had that fire in him since he was a little kid, man. So it comes from somewhere. Yeah, it comes from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like he recognized and acknowledged what his father did, and that's literally taking something and just running with that shit until you can't run no more. That's exactly what Kobe did. He understood what it took. He understood the discipline, the consistency, and what it took to be. And he reached the mountaintop. He reached the pinnacle of his career. He wanted to be the best player in the world, and he was that. He was exactly that for quite a long time. So, I mean, what more can you say? That's the best Father's Day gift you could ever have, right?
Right. Yeah, anybody NBA wise you want to add into this that you could think of? Or basketball, period, not even just NBA, but
Clay, right? Clay and his pops? Clay and Michael Thompson?
Yes.
True.
Yes. How are we forgetting the biggest name of all, LeVar Ball? He
Never lost. Never lost.
Your man really was on a mission to get his kids in the league, and he did it. He did
Yeah.
it.
And LaMelo's about to be out of the league. It sounds like too. I think
What's he
health
got?
wise, I heard he's not
Arthritis?
doing great. Something.
I don't know.
The
Alonzo is just an injury waiting to happen. So I mean,
that's what Lonzo, not LaMelo. Yeah,
yeah, Alonzo's got knee issues, and the LaMelo, who was projected to be the best out of all of them. I mean, if he comes back, he should be back this year. If he can stay healthy for the rest of his career, he'll be all right. A lot of these guys are going the way of Grant Hill right now. You know what I'm saying? 5 years hot, and then they're gone. You know, it's tough.
That's true. What about Giannis and his brothers?
Well, but Giannis ain't. See, here's the thing. Who is Giannis's father? Because we're taking it from the.
That's true.
and Giannis didn't give birth to his brothers. So I mean, if we're talking at just a family,
It's on fathers. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we're talking from the father down. From the fathers down. So, but yeah, that.
If you want to talk, like in recent terms. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I forgot to press mute while clearing my throat.
All right. So in recent terms, you can look at LeBron, what he's doing, and Bronny coming up. Because Bronny's definitely going to make the league. Yeah. We don't know what his ceiling is yet, but he's definitely coming into the league.
I'm hearing his other brother is actually better than Bronny, because Bronny,
the younger one,
was like everybody was touting Bronny, but was also like, I don't know, he's not it, but it's LeBron's son, so he's gonna get them looks. But Big O, he also mentioned just a whole bunch of other names. He mentioned Arvydas and Domantas Sabonis, Greg and Cole Anthony.
Oh yeah,
Rick Barry, which Rick Barry is a great one. John and Brent Andrew, like that's a legacy right there. Henry and Mike Bibby, Melvin and Devin Booker, Rick and Jalen Brunson, and the Hardaways.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And Tony,
you got to understand. You got to understand. As a kid, you got to live up to your that name on the back of the jersey. You know what I'm saying? That's a different type of pressure. Like,
but Tony, you asked.
People are always going to compare you to, were you as good as your pop?
And I just said the irony of Tony asking this, because we're going next to my list, part of my list. It was I was trying to leave them off because rest in peace to 95% of the Von Erichs. But most of them, if not all except for one, are deceased. But from Fritz down,
wow,
they had Texas on lock.
Yes, sir.
The Von Erichs had Texas on lock. And I mean, Kerry, the one in the middle, that's the one who we've seen the furthest along as far as the WWF is concerned when they try to bring him in as the Texas Tornado. But looks, body-wise, like he had it. He just, unfortunately, time passing. But his other brothers, like I forgot which, I think this is David, maybe the one I'm pointing at now. I don't know if y'all can see it, the one in the corner who used to wrestle with no shoes on. I think personally, my opinion, was a better wrestler than probably all the brothers. If you go back and watch what they've done. But Jamal, you're familiar.
Yeah, man. The Von Erichs was legendary, man. I remember getting the wrestling magazines back in the day and reading about them for the federations they was in that I couldn't get broadcasted, and finally getting to see them live when they finally started coming to the bigger regional promotions. It was like, damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to talk about genetic lottery? Go there. To have that many kids that can all wrestle like that.
Yeah.
And all was skilled. You know what I mean?
Word. Now, the irony, Tony, you know what? The reason why I thought about this was because of the roads. And I just realized now I forgot to put them in, but you'll see my other ones. Flair and Charlotte are definitely in there. We'll talk about them later. The Bloodline, I'll explain why I didn't put them in. I'll explain why. But next up is one of TJ's, the Alomars, Sandy Alomar Sr., Jr., and Roberto. Which this once I seen this one, I was like, yo, he went there because this is our childhood of baseball right here.
Yes, sir.
100%.
I mean, they were all stars. They were the best at their position at that time they played. They're considered legendary baseball players from his pops on down. You can't. I left off one other family like that, Moises Alou and his sons,
Yeah,
and all
I
three of
was
his
there.
brothers played. Moises Alou's. Yeah, that whole family was also great in baseball. Um, it's undeniable that the talent that what they took to get there and everything. That's phenomenal.
Word. Well, because the way this opened up, we're gonna get to more baseball. The player that I love to hate on the most, but I fucking appreciate his game to no ends of the earth. Ken Griffey Jr. and
Hands down.
Senior.
Yep.
Motherfucker, TJ. Like
Yeah.
as a Yankee fan, it was always fuck Ken Griffey Jr. But I got so much love for this dude. Well, almost was the first unanimous Hall of Famer. Almost 93% first round ballot picks, and one of the first duos to play father and son on the same team together.
Yeah, that was wild. That
Mhm.
was wild. Yeah, I know why. I know why you say that. Fuck Ken Griffey Jr. Because he said he'd never play for the Yankees. Yeah, he
Because
would
of what
never
they did to his
in his
father.
life he would ever play. Yeah, exactly
You
what they
know,
did to his pops. And I mean, I don't think he would have came to New York anyway. But I mean, what that man did at the plate was he still has one of the best swings of all time in all of baseball. So
Mhm.
I mean,
And we all tried, don't front, we all tried that uppercut swing.
he was the best at it, and I mean, he can enter a home run derby today and still probably put a few out
I don't know about
easily,
that.
easily,
He got a few sandwiches on him
easily.
now. I don't know about that. The Guerreros. We talk about one of the best swings in baseball history, TJ. And his son is
yeah.
almost looking just like him on the plate.
Bro, I seen Vladimir Guerrero hit a ball that bounced in the dirt for a double.
It's ridiculous, man. Talk about another dope player who hates the Yankees too.
Vlad was different, and don't sleep on Vlad's defense. He had a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
You could not run on Vlad in the outfield. He would
Did
gun
he?
your ass down.
Did he from right field? It was ridiculous, yo.
Right field on a play to home, no bounce, no hop, no skip, on a fly, would nail your ass at the plate, rounding third base.
Dominican strong.
Vlad was different. Vlad was different.
Next up, because I don't see who it is. This right here, TJ, this is what struck so much fucking memories. He is the reason why I played first base.
Cecil?
Cecil Fielder is the reason why I played first base.
Wow.
But
Wow.
keep
Can't be
going.
mad. Can't be mad.
I mean, Cecil's one of the only people that I think hit it on the roof of Tiger Stadium. And if you know how big that stadium is, to put that shit on the roof, that's unheard of. Unheard of. And that was the old Tiger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Comerica Park. It was the old Detroit Tiger Stadium. If they say that shit wasn't 500 feet, I don't know what is, because they'd never give anybody credit for hitting a home run 500 feet. But that shit was well beyond 400 and whatever they measured that shit out to be. Well beyond. And Prince did his thing. It's like Prince was no slouch at that plate either.
Oh, hell
Prince
no.
put balls out the park.
I tell you what, though,
Prince was a solid baseball player.
that damn Saturday food shopping bill in that house must have been astronomical.
There's some big ass dudes. No pause. There's some big dudes for real.
No
Really?
meals were missed, bro. No
No,
meals
bro.
were missed today.
The damn
And then
deli
TJ
counter, bro. 4 pounds of turkey, please.
no worries, I can afford it. While we going in there like, yo, let me get $4 worth.
Yeah, bro.
TJ, you rounded it off with the GOAT.
The barbecues at that house must have been phenomenal.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
imagine
Yes,
all
Barry
states.
and Bobby Bonds.
The
Yeah,
GOAT.
that's good stuff right there.
There's nothing else I can say. The fucking GOAT, TJ. Like, I don't care, roids or not. There is
Nope.
nobody better than Barry fucking Bonds.
No, if they mad, they should have got better roids. Yep.
Yo, you either walked him or he hit a home run. It was like, yo,
Mhm.
bases loaded. You pitching to Barry Bonds. He's like, nah, I'd rather give up 1 run than 4.
He
It
hit
was
him
just
with
math.
he hit him with that no, that what's the name hit Debo with it Friday. No. Tony said, I just,
Yeah, man.
I
What, I
just
mean,
said that Roy comment myself.
you can't deny Barry Bonds' greatness. I mean, what he did for baseball at that time was unprecedented, and it still hasn't been matched to this day. I don't think anybody's going to hit that many home runs. Judge,
That's right.
Trout, Otani, nobody.
Nah, that shit don't bother me
Nobody's
because you
going
know
to
what?
touch that record.
He took all the heat them first few years for the steroids, knowing that everybody else was on that shit, and he kept his mouth shut.
Gets
He
it,
never
yeah.
he
That
never
part.
deflected off him. He took all of that heat, and then one of the players who was taking PhDs was PED, excuse me. Didn't say
McGuire.
didn't say
Yeah,
shit.
they definitely
Just
wasn't
let him get
PhD.
roasted out there. Let him get roasted.
Oh, and the media hated him because he didn't give them what they wanted it. And
That's right.
so I think
Yep.
that's a part why he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. If he gave the writers a little
That's
bit
a
of what
huge
they
part.
wanted, they would have fought for him to get in by now. But he was doing this before the steroids. He was one of the best hitters ever, period, before the
Yeah.
steroids.
Period, yeah.
Way before.
If you just take his career before he started juicing, he still is a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
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 And side note, people, he never got caught in season.
There you go.
So whatever your assumptions are should be stricken from the record book when in season.
The clear
he has
was
never
clear.
failed.
Yep.
Facts.
The clear was clear.
Straight John Cena, you can't see me.
You ain't got me
Next-
on tape. It didn't happen.
Oh, but honorable mention. Ian, you got any honorable mentions for baseball? Because there's one glaring one that I know he missed. But it's not that glaring.
Baseball.
It's not that you missed it.
No, I don't think so.
The Ripkins.
Mm.
Ooh.
Mm.
You could do the Boones too, like Bob
that's
Boone,
true.
Aaron Boone, Brett Boone.
True. But like you said, the
Ripkins
Alus too.
Yeah, the Lose, definitely.
Word. But Jamal, we're up to some of your picks now.
That's what's up.
Who we
So,
got on the screen?
So we got, and they actually should be higher on this list. Felix Tito Trinidad and Felix Senior. In terms of there's so many legendary father-son duos in boxing. So to narrow it down to 5 was tough, but all respect to this duo, because it's a lot. It's a lot to one, just train boxing, and then have your father yelling at you well into adulthood. You know what I mean? so big respect to all those fighters, those fathers and doers those fathers who got their sons, to the championship and into Canastota in the Hall of Fame. But this man's record speaks for itself. He was a monster. He was a monster. There's a couple fights that I thought he got the benefit of the doubt. I always put an asterisk next to that De La Hoya win because De La Hoya gave him a boxing lesson, and I don't care that De La Hoya ran the last 4 rounds. Math is still math, and 8 is still greater than 4. So De La Hoya won that fight, and Don King would never let him rematch De La Hoya. They shot him for weight right after that fight. So
that's smart
that was
business.
bothering me. But couldn't run forever. Don King walked him right into Bernard Hopkins, which is the dumbest fucking thing he could ever done. And that was it for
That
Don
was
King.
terrible.
That was it for Don King.
Quick side note with
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, quick side note with Tito Trinidad, okay?
Yeah.
There was a guy that worked at my high school who was a lifeguard, who was a professional boxer, got a title, and his name was Larry Barnes. And he fought Tito Trinidad and we was like, damn, we love you, Larry, but we don't see this is going your way. And he was still like in work for the high school when he was fighting this fight, and he lasted about 4 or 5 rounds before Tito put him away. The height advantage was crazy, and the arms and the reach was crazy too, because Larry Barnes was about 5'5", 5'6" tops.
Yeah, that's it for
And
Tito.
he
Tough match, man.
that was lunch. That was lunch,
Tito,
bro.
Lunch. Tito was tall. He was lanky. He had bricks in both hands. He was aggressive as shit. He'd get up off the canvas and knock you down. So you can't say anything bad about him. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, Puerto Rican fighter of all time. Incredible record. Had an incredible run. And all respect to him. There's nothing you can say bad about that dude's career.
And side note, because I was just gonna mention on him like how he was like one of those first to like really have an entire island behind him whenever he fought in the main states. But I correct me if I'm wrong, but when Miguel Cotto used to always fight Puerto Rican Parade Weekend, I don't remember hearing about a big fight Puerto Rican Parade Weekend this year. And I don't think what's his name? Teofimo is Puerto Rican, yes or no?
No,
he's not.
He's let's see. He is Honduran.
Oh, okay. Well, that was the only Latino Hispanic fight, and that was a week or two before the parade.
They still waiting for that next that guy. They got a couple of prospects who are going to shine in the next year or so. So they're waiting for that next big superstar. I thought it was going to be Edgar Belenga. I'm not too sure, because if he don't knock you out, he's not doing much. But no, that island will always have a number of prospects at all times. That's in their blood.
Yeah.
So
Tito's a god in Puerto Rico. He's a god in Puerto Rico. Yeah, like hands down, he can go. He eats free for the rest of his life in Puerto Rico, for sure.
And unfortunately, Miguel Cotto never got that love, but he still be loved though. But he's still beloved. So next up,
he got that love. Like I said, he got that love in the city because he fought every Puerto Rican Parade Weekend.
He did, but he never got to Tito's height, and I don't think the relationship between him and Tito is great. I mean, they're not enemies, but like they would never embrace. Like he never, it's kind of like Chavez Senior and Canelo. You know what I mean?
Right. That OG reaching down.
It's respect, but he's not. And I think Cotto's his own man. He wanted to make his name outside of Tito. You know what I'm saying? So respect
which is respectable.
Yeah. Right here, another father-son duo who I cannot say enough about this gentleman's career. Sean Porter fought anybody, anywhere, anytime. Never gave you a bad fight. I've only seen one fight where he clearly lost. That was against Kell Brook. But he gave everybody's favorite champion a run for their money, or he beat them. He didn't run from nobody. He fought all comers. Never complained about the money. Never complained about glove weight, catch race, nothing like that. Every fight he was in was exciting. He fought anybody that was anybody of his era, and he made boxing exciting in that 447-pound weight class. Dude fought Errol Spence, lost by a round. You know, he fought Terrence Crawford, was beating Terrence Crawford until he got knocked down, and I've only seen Porter get put down maybe 3 times. And he still was going to fight, and it was the last round when he got knocked down, and his father stopped the fight. But he was ahead on the cards winning that fight, right? He fought Danny Garcia, right? Keith Thurman, which I felt he got robbed. I thought he beat Keith Thurman. Beat the hell out of Paulie Malignaggi. Fought Adrian Broner when Adrian Broner was still on the come up. You know, that was a classic Battle of Ohio.
before when you want cheese on that burger, you know what you're gonna get.
That's right. You know. But yeah, Sean Porter fought anybody. Every fight was competitive. He was tough. He stood in the pocket. You know, if a fighter was known for being a hard hitter, puncher, a tough guy, Sean Porter said, "Okay, I'm gonna stand in front of you. Let's see what you got."
Yeah, he was a telephone booth fighter. He was definitely fighting in the phone booth.
When he needed to box, he boxed. You know, he fought the Cuban boy. That was a tough fight. I forgot old boy's name. Shit, the guy that Errol Spence ended up breaking his orbital bone. But yeah, that was a tough ass fight. We had to box, and he had to outbox a Cuban, which is tough, you know. But Sean Porter, man, guaranteed Hall of Famer. He finally retired. He fought all comers, and he kept boxing excited. It never. With him, it was never about who my promoter was or what fight camp I was or what nervous. He found a way to make all those fights happen. So I took my hat to him. And his father. And his father, you know, looked out for him for his whole career, you know. And his pops had enough mercy and said, "You're all right." Because his pops knew to do. Once Terrence Crawford put you down, you're in trouble. And so his pops said, you know, you came this far. You can, you know, you ain't got no slur, no stutter, nothing like that. We're gonna keep that. We're gonna keep it. And you know, now he's got a fantastic broadcasting career, and he's got an incredible podcast.
Yeah.
So salute to Sean Porter.
Yeah.
Sean and Kenny Porter.
Now we're putting a little sugar in the tank. Pause.
Oh yeah. Yo, what else? Again, this wonderful division. If you can't see, I'm kind of biased towards welterweight. That's my favorite division. Always has been. But Shane and Shane Mosley's a monster. You know, enough said. Shane fought. He's another one that fought all the kings of his era. Ridiculous two fights with Oscar De La Hoya. Some of the most entertaining fights I've seen. Fought Vernon Forrest. So Vernon Forrest had his number. You know what I mean? Tall, lanky dude with a good punch.
That was a tough fight.
Yeah, that was a tough fight. Fought Winky Wright. You know, was past his prime, but he fought Canelo and Cotto. You know what I mean? And he still came in there.
That Mayweather fight was no slouch either. He gave Mayweather the business for the first couple of rounds.
Yes, he said you better make that adjustment soon, Floyd, or it's gonna be lights out. You know what I mean? For Floyd, for Pacquiao, for Canelo, for Cotto, Vernon Forrest,
for all the
De La
major
Hoya. Man, what a career, man! If you just listen to the names on his resume, just. You know, he fought through eras. You know what I mean? Margarito exposed Antonio Margarito when he was the boogeyman. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Exposed Margarito.
But his dad, though.
His dad was kind of, you know, like I said, having your father yelling at you all the way into adulthood took his toll. And you know, Shane had to break off for a little while. And you know, he saw some other trainers. I thought what Nazeem Richardson did with him. Was outstanding, but in his own words, and I'm quoting here, but not word for word. But Nazeem Richardson said, you know, Jack already taught him how to fight. I just had to make some adjustments. So you know what I mean. So you know,
and speed kills. His hand speed was phenomenal, man.
His hand speed, his timing, and Shane can hit. That's the other thing people say. Shane can fucking hit.
he slump you.
Shane can hit, man. I mean, I never saw nobody rock up Antonio Margarito like that. And that ass whooping that Margarito took from Pacquiao, he still was willing to fight. Cotto was hitting him for both fights, was ridiculous power, and he still stood up. Shane was the only one I seen put him down like that.
Yeah.
Once his ass went through the second and third ropes, I think it's a wrap.
Yeah.
And now the man that my boy, shout out to my man Eddie Keeling, who he couldn't shut this man up about from his hometown of Pensacola, Florida.
Mhm.
I got Roy Jones Jr. and Senior. And if
Chicken
this,
chasing Roy, bro. Chasing and raising them chickens. Yeah, Roy.
One of the best to ever do it, man.
In terms of just pure boxing quality, he at his prime in his run, him and Floyd were 1 and 1A, and they were interchangeable. I have to be honest. You know, we remember
Yes.
Roy for the fights he lost now because he kept getting back his ass back in the ring. But before that, I have never seen natural gifted ability like that. Roy just said F fundamentals. His reflexes and timing was so damn good. Right? Roy was a monster. Man. And then he moved up to heavyweight to fight John Ruiz, beat him, and he should have walked into the sunset.
Yeah.
But you know,
He should have called it
Tarver,
quits after that.
yeah, he let Antonio Tarver was barking, and I get it. You know, fighters are not going to walk from a challenge, and he lost 30 pounds of muscle to go back down at age whatever 30 late 30s he was in. Which you know you can't do that when you lose weight, when you lose muscle weight in boxing to go back down at advanced age. It's you pretty much building
Jamal,
your coffin. Yeah,
Jamal, he was 1 second slower than Tarver connected on that punch
that's
because they
right.
both threw rights at the same time, and
Yep.
Tarver connected just a little bit quicker than he did. That was the
Hmm.
only difference right there, and that's
That's
what
it,
put him
man.
on his ass.
Tony,
So,
his
but
rap career, we want to forget.
Mr. Unbeatable.
Y'all must have
Y'all must have
forgot.
forgot. Y'all must have forgot.
Last but
But
not
no, man.
least,
Last but not least, we going to
The
the GOAT.
GOAT.
The GOAT, you know, his pops is a Hall of Fame trainer, man. The champions, what his father did with Oscar De La Hoya is unreal. On top of it, you know what I mean?
and didn't
But
his father? Wasn't his father Oscar's trainer when they fought?
no, he stopped training Oscar to train Floyd because the thing was, you know, they had a tumultuous relationship. You know, Floyd Senior dabbled in drugs and other type of shit, and he's punchy on top of it. So we've seen the notorious fights between Floyd and his pops, and then he stopped training with his pops and was training with his Uncle Roger for a lot of his big fights.
Yeah.
What Senior came in and did, and people forget Floyd used to get people out of there. He used to whip your ass, but Floyd's hands was brittle, and so that's why he switched to becoming a defensive fighter. And you know, people try to say that oh Floyd don't ever fight nobody, or he just runs. How come nobody ever tried to walk down Floyd? Because he could pop, even with them brittle hands, he can still pop. Yeah,
One of the greatest counter punchers of all time, Floyd
100%.
Mayweather
Yeah,
would counter your ass to the grave,
word.
to the
So
grave.
he his timing was ridiculous. There's nobody better that I've seen with my two eyes in boxing that made better in-ring adjustments than Floyd.
Fact.
Right? Floyd will find your greatest weapon and take it away from you. He would frustrate you because you couldn't lay a damn glove on him, even if he was in front of you. And they said that Floyd, these are boxers saying, the most frustrating thing about Floyd is you swinging at a dude that's right in front of you and missing, and the whole time he's looking up at the clock, the ring clock, seeing how much time is left in the round, and then he'll hit you with a few jabs and a few pops, and he'll steal around from you, and they go back to his corner. But even when he was training with Roger, and he let Roger started getting sick from the sugar, and he went back to his pops. His pops said, "We got to protect you better." And his father was a fantastic defensive fighter and an incredible defensive trainer. And again, like there's a lot of slander with Floyd. Floyd ran. Floyd didn't stand in front. Well, Floyd stand right the fuck in front of Miguel Cotto. Took his best shots, beat him. He stood in front of Canelo. Canelo came in that ring at like 170, man. That night against Floyd, and Floyd stood right in front of him. And beat him. So
to hear those weights, though, those weights and people talk like that's heavy, it always mystifies me. It always fucking puzzles me, like to hear those light ass weights and they're like that's heavy. Like, nah, that's crazy. But Ian,
I challenge people to let a 125-pound boxer hit you in the stomach and see what happens.
True. True. Your shit turned to
I'll
jello.
pass. I'll pass.
What's up? We see big little Ian in the background. What's up? But Ian, anybody on boxing? Hi, is. Hi, loudmouth. But Ian, anybody you want to add in on boxing, Ian? Because there's
What about
another honorable mention.
the Chavez family?
Yeah, there's so many
Yes.
that I could have put in the Chavez family, of course.
Yeah.
Even Teofimo Lopez and his father is up there. You know, there is
The Ali's is the last one
the
that I would
Ali,
say.
Mm-hmm.
the Frasers up there, Marvis Frazier and
Mhm.
and Joe Frazier. You had the Tate family.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There's just so many. There's a million father-son duos that were great in boxing. I just tried to grab, the 5 that I knew.
Word. But here's my list,
That's a
and I'm gonna
strong
start.
list.
I'm gonna start here as we talk about what about wrestling. Of course, I had to bring the wrestling. Shout outs to our shirt. Real wrestling fans wear deodorant. Search the Start 5 podcast on Redbubble. You could get yours. We got real wrestling fans wear deodorant and real anime fans wear deodorant on there. Coming soon, real comic book fans and real sports fans wear deodorant because our fan bases can be some funky motherfuckers when you at these conventions. You know what I'm saying? When you at these conventions, you at these events, motherfuckers stink and they don't they don't wash sometimes. But
Before you go, Dan, I'm about to hit the road, but I'm gonna keep tuning in and listening. All right, y'all.
All right, bro.
So,
All right, man.
Have a good one, Joe.
And
Happy
everybody,
Yes.
check them out on HHDG Media, the podcast. That's one of our side ventures from HHDG Media Incorporated. Any MC you need to learn about that is under a rock in Iowa, he will let you know who they are. That's my saying for him all the time. But peace to you. Happy Father's Day, and we'll get up eventually.
Same to you. All right, man. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
All right. Peace.
That's why they came on camera. They was coming to chase you off. Like, let's go, nigga. Let's go. All right. Cool. Peace to the brother. But yeah, Rocky Johnson and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Is there much that I really truly need to elaborate behind these two? The Soul Man, everybody who should know the Soul Man, Rocky Johnson, was one of the great black wrestlers in the world. From Canada, by the way. Used to tag with people like Teddy Atlas and things like that, but one of the greatest black wrestlers of all time. Birthed the most electrifying man in sports entertainment history. One of the first wrestlers that many people could say was quote unquote forced down our throats. That's one of those favorite sayings amongst the wrestling community. But by way of Vince McMahon, all in turn for Vince McMahon to be 1,000% right in who this man is and what he could do. Was he the greatest wrestler in the world? No. But in the WWF and E aspect of things, he worked their style and system like none other. And then Mike skills, if there was a top 5, he's in that top 5. It's arguable you could decide with your mother where you want to put him, but not many can see him on the mic the way as The Rock. And everybody's got a little memory of The Rock in some sort of a way. What say y'all?
I mean, that's easy, hands down. Like most people, when they think, I mean, Rock is so big now. I don't think some of these youths coming up didn't know he used to wrestle. That's how big he is.
They don't even remember him when he was coming up in wrestling. You know what I mean?
Nah.
He was starting to get that push. Yeah.
The blue chip Rocky Maivia.
Yeah. Like he's been doing this for a long time. And respect to him because that man puts in the grind. You want to talk about grind and work? his work ethic is unmatched. He definitely made sure he was going to expand his career outside of wrestling and set the table for other people to come behind him to be just as successful
Hmm.
behind him. He paved the way for so many people behind him in the wrestling community to say, hey, you don't have to do this grind for your entire life. You can expand. You can be on TV. You can be in movies. You can do pretty much what you want as long as you put
Hmm.
the work in. And he set the bar for the bar. He set was so high that even if you came in and wasn't, I mean, I remember John Cena doing movies that were just straight ass, and now he's a household name damn near. So
Yep.
respect to The Rock, man. You got The
Yeah,
Rock to
man.
thank for that.
Word.
Shit, man.
And it was hard for me to not put him because I had to put black men in there somehow, some way,
Hmm.
because I was trying to find others. It's hard to find as far as
Yeah.
black men in professional wrestling. But next one I'm going to the Paphos.
Oh man.
Angelo Poffo,
Wow.
Hmm.
absolute great in the ring. Birthed Leaping Lanny Poffo, or aka the genius at one
Poetry.
time. and he and he gave birth to one of the absolute greats, legends, you name it. He could be number one on many people's list. The Macho Man, or Randy the Macho Man Savage. I was just watching the A&E documentary about Macho Man, and this dude was in it in the early
Yep.
70s, and was always the
Wow.
Macho Man with the same robes and the raspy voice and everything. And lesser known by people who don't like to dig. This dude, his first passion was baseball,
That's
and
right.
could
His
and
outfielder.
could and could have should have been in the major leagues if it wasn't for an injury.
Ridiculous athlete, man.
But this man also has one of, if not, in my opinion, the greatest WrestleMania match in
Mm.
WrestleMania history with him and Steamboat.
Yep.
I implore
Ricky the
y'all,
Dragon?
yes, I
That match
implore
is.
y'all to go look up Ricky the Dragon and talking about how meticulous Macho Man was with putting together matches. They said he had like a multi-page, almost 400 set list of how the match was going to go down, and used to quiz Randy on the random. I mean, used to quiz Ricky on random. What's move number 200 and something something? What's
That's
move
Are
number
crazy.
you
100
serious?
something?
That's
Leading
crazy.
into that match, that became an absolute masterpiece
Hmm.
in
I love
That's
professional.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat too, man. He was a phenomenal wrestler.
Absolutely, and I didn't get into him because he's not in this list. But just go
Right.
watch, if you need to watch anything on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Watch that WrestleMania, I think 3 match, and then go watch anything with Ricky and Ric Flair back in the day, and like in Mid South and AWA and stuff like that. Like our matches that were just perfect. Perfect. You rarely got a bad match out of them. And then speaking of perfection, rest in peace to David Flair. But I have to go with the two GOATs. Now, Ric Flair is he was my number one, but it's my number 2 personally now. But the GOAT, if you want to talk about, there should be a universal list, despite all the quote unquote sex pest activity that we all learned about as we got older with Rick and stuff like that. This man should be number 1 on almost any wrestling fans list as the best ever. And his daughter, who consistently gets hated on till this day, quite possibly the absolute best women's wrestler of all time. If you want to start stacking championships, the WWE only recognizes 16 from Ric Flair. He's about a 22 to 24 time champion around the world. That's what a draw is. That's what real power in the professional wrestling business is. And Charlotte, in the WWE sense of things, is on the way, if not breaking her father's record of title reigns. That says how much a company trusts in you and how much they believe in your ability and how good you are at what you do. And to me, like the way Charlotte is now and has been for the past few years, it's like she wrestles down to her opponent's ability, because if she wanted to blow them out of the water, it's lights out for anybody and everybody, depending on how the match outcome was scripted.
She's that nice, then?
She is that nice.
Damn.
You have to disregard what most of the fans say and just watch her. And she's had bangers throughout her whole career, from NXT to the main roster aspect of things. She's phenomenal. The only thing we can say about her that we can't say about her father is we haven't seen her outside of the WWE system. Ric Flair, there was no WWE. Well, there was WWF, but it was WWF. But he was working in the South, in Mid-South, for Jim Crockett, for all those. Which those are some of my honorable mention names that I could add. The Crockett's, as far as business is concerned. Jerry and Jeff Jarrett, who Jeff Jarrett at almost the age of 60 is still going to this day. People hate it, but the dude still puts on great matches with people. You know, there's
what about the Backlunds, like Bob Backlund and them? He had a serious family.
Just Bob. No, it was just Bob.
Oh, it was just Bob? It was just Bob? Okay.
Yeah, but there's other families. Like the last one I'm going to show, and I'm saving them as the number one, even though honorable mention goes to a name mentioned, the Rhodes, which if I was doing a 10, they had to be in there. You got Dusty, one of the greatest ever, period. His son, Dustin, aka Dustin Rhodes, aka Gold Dust at one time. He's in his last year of profession. Like, he's retiring after 2023, but still doing his damn thing in his 50s. And then his son Cody started out in the WWE system. Said, fuck this, I'm going to take my talents elsewhere. Started doing the independent circuit in America, Ring of Honor, all these places. Then took his talents to Japan, member of the Bullet Club. Was a great, put on outstanding matches in Japan. Then helped a man named Tony Khan, along with a couple other people, to start the company that I love now to this day, AEW. Helped birth a new, prominent, and major player in the professional wrestling game, who just expanded their TV shows to Saturday nights. They now have a new Saturday night wrestling show. To then, I'm going to take my talents back to the WWE. Rappers, if you need somebody else to look at to show you how to do it and bring yourself to the majors, aka leave, prove yourself, and then come back with here's my resume and drop a freaking Bible-sized set of paperwork on them. Cody Rhodes, go dig into his career and understand how he got to where he is now as one of the biggest top stars in the WWE, what he wasn't before. But I have to fast forward back to the number one, the fucking Hart family.
Yep. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that, bro.
Every last son in this picture wrestled.
Yes.
And and Stu arguably, and Birth arguably, another GOAT. And rest in peace to Owen.
Yep.
One of my personal sentimental favorites of all time. The only celebrity death that still to this day made me cry. And I can go exactly to where I was standing, where I cried when we all got the word that Owen Hart died. But Bret Hart, I mean, not to forget the other brothers, but forget the other brothers in this case. Bret Hart alone, the excellence of execution, multiple time WWF champion, WCW champion, literally put together some of the great, one of the other top 5 best WrestleMania matches ever. Owen and Bret, WrestleMania 10. Another match that I implore all y'all to go watch. Literally one of the best wrestling matches ever. And was a star maker for Owen. For a star maker for anybody sleeping. But when you really break down this one man's family tree, it expands even further because of all the other connective tissues.
Yes, the in-laws.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart,
Yes.
who married into the family by way of one of the kid's sisters, one of Stu's daughters, then birthed Natalia Neidhart. You got the Smiths, Davy Boy Smith,
Mm-hmm.
who married into the family. Everybody knows Davy Boy Smith, SummerSlam 1992, one of the best matches of SummerSlam history. Has his son Harry Smith, who I think is a Trumpster, but that means nothing right now. But Harry Smith, who's doing his thing in like MLW and other independents and stuff. And then there's so many others that I'm not digging into.
Didn't Lance Storm come from the dungeon too?
He might have came from the dungeon, but he's not a part of the family. But so many people went through the dungeon.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Mark Henry is a student of Stu Hart's dungeon.
Jeez.
If you want to talk big names, physically big, Mark Henry was a student of the dungeon because they sent him up there to get better, and he got better. And just the stories of Stu Hart's dungeon, aka their basement, with a thin-ass gym mat and hard-ass walls, a hard-ass floor, you went down there to learn the art of professional wrestling and got your ass kicked. I wish I was able to have went up there and done this shit. But if there's a full, complete wrestling, go ahead, Jamal, but if there's a full, complete family in wrestling,
it's just them. They're as important to wrestling. Them, the Funks, in terms of just
I
training.
left the Funks off. The Funks off. I almost had them.
Yeah, but just like you said, just the bloodline. But then if you want to take it further, just the extended family of folks that just went through there, that he trained, that he put into business, that are Hall of Famers. He put into the business, and just for the evolution of the of the medium of wrestling, of what Stu Hart and that legacy leaves. So
Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, man. It's immeasurable almost of how important and the impact that family has left on wrestling as a whole. So
word. And now honorable mentions, because like I said, I did the task of keeping us to 5. Honorable mentions goes to Vince McMahon. From senior down.
Yep.
From the man who started the WWF to the man who bought the company off his father for $1 million and turned professional wrestling into the global entity that it is in the States. Then to birth one of the great executives in Stephanie McMahon and his son Shane McMahon, who, again, great behind the scenes executive, damn good entertainer in the ring too.
Yes, sir. Knew how to stir the pot.
The man knew how to. He did the dumb shit that everybody else wasn't going to do. Flying off the Titantron, elbow dropping the Big Show, crazy shit like that. Like Shane was nuts, but it was always entertaining. And then you got, by marriage, you got Triple H.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then you mentioned the Funks. I wanted to originally put Dory Funk in with Junior and Terry Funk. Terry Funk, there's nothing more that needs to be said about Terry Funk. Absolute fucking greatness from hardcore to regular.
Yeah, man. They had a school down in Florida, a wrestling school down in Florida that they was training folks in. So,
and then, like Tony mentioned in the comments, he mentioned the quote unquote bloodline. I didn't put them in because that family's bloodline, quote unquote, is a little convoluted because everybody doesn't understand how Peter Maivia and the family and stuff connects. I'm not going through all of that, but you have to go through people individually. Like Alpha and Sika
Yep.
both birthed. I mean, you got one of the greats of today, birthed by I think Sika, Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
But then Rikishi or Solo Fatu, he gave us Jimmy and Jay and Solo Sikoa. Jimmy and Jay Uso and Solo Sikoa. You know, like I'm definitely coming in to eat in a second. They had to give me pause, they had to give me some meat. But but yeah, but I left them out because it's like when you break them down individually, that's where all the greatness falls. They didn't come from just one
Right.
that was in the business. But all in all, man, like professional wrestling is one of those things that we could keep going for days on others. Like I left out a lot of Mexican wrestlers,
Yeah, the Ortons.
the Ortons too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I left out a lot of like Mondo, not Mondo, but Eddie Guerrero's father, birthed Eddie, Chavo, Mondo. No, Chavo is the son of one of Eddie's brothers, but all of his brothers wrestled. Like the list is crazy.
Did back in the day, Big John Henry, did his pops ever wrestle? Or I know he
Big
had
John
like a brother
Studd?
in it.
Big John Studd.
Big John Studd, yeah.
I don't know because I don't know anybody else outside of his bloodline other than him.
I know he had a brother.
We have to look into
But
it.
it was short-lived.
Maybe it was a kayfabe brother, like brother, and like if you want to go with, and I did tell myself to stop using wrestling terms, but in quote unquote kayfabe sense, the Anderson family,
Yeah.
Ole and them, and then
Yeah.
you got Arn Anderson, C.W. Anderson.
Oh shit!
like,
I forgot about them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but Arn Anderson, one of my goats, is not realistically in that family. His real name is Marty Lundy, but in wrestling kayfabe, they were family. They were cousins, and and play cousins in the black people's sense of things. But all in all, though, we had great lists. Of course, when we got to keep it to starting 5, we're gonna leave out a whole bunch of people. But yeah. This Father's Day show is done. Dinner's almost ready, so I gotta go eat. Y'all know what to do, Jamal.
All right. So shout out to everybody, man. I'm so glad to be back on the show, y'all, after a couple weeks hiatus. Happy Father's Day to both y'all gentlemen. Hope y'all got the big piece of chicken or whatever it is today. Peace out to Ian for coming on, everybody in the comments. Shout out to everyone watching. Peace to Ishtar. Shout out to Disabled Planets. Big up to Ill Magic.
Yes. Shout out to everybody today. Good seeing you, JG. Glad you're back. Shout out to Ian. It was nice seeing him. Shout out to the people in the comments. This was a good show, Dan. I like it. I'm about to get into some of this in a few minutes after we get off the show. So I'm off tomorrow, so I have 0 F's given about what's happening later today. But this was a great show. Happy Father's Day to you, Dan, again. And looking forward to next week.
And happy Father's Day to you too. Happy Father's Day to everybody watching or listening that are fathers. Happy Father's Day to Ian once again. Thanks for coming on. Like I said, I just threw the joint in the HHDG group chat. It was like, yo, if y'all could come on, do your thing, whatever. But
real quick.
Go right ahead.
I just came across the scroll. Bradley Beal traded to the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
For who?
Chris Paul and somebody else. Chris Paul was traded with somebody else. I didn't get the details yet. I just saw his name come across the ticker.
So who's gonna run point?
I have no idea. We'll have to look into this after I get off the show with y'all.
That's what's up.
Well, good for Phoenix. It ain't gonna get them out the first or second round, but good for Phoenix. Good for them.
Nope.
But anyway, happy Father's Day to all of them on the Phoenix Suns and in the NBA. But yeah, man, big ups to everybody for just being.
Happy Father's Day to Zion.
Word, happy future Father's Day to Zion. Zion Mills. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, hit out Redbubble. I didn't put it on our website yet, but hit out Redbubble. Real fans wear deodorant. I definitely made sure I put mine on while I was wearing this shirt. Hit up our thestarflypodcast.com. Go get our other merch there through that one, through our Teespring. Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, hooksrub.com. 20% off your order using the code STARTING5. And yeah, I feel like I had something else to say, but I don't think I really have much else to say other than peace. We'll see y'all next week. Oh,
Peace.
and then too, Philly Cigar Week is coming. It's this week. We didn't announce it much because I said mentioned I wasn't gonna be there, but I know we always have the open walk-in and be a part of it. So if y'all two are still gonna do, if y'all still want to do, if not, that's okay. We always shout outs to John, Chalk, everybody involved with Philly Cigar Week. I know that's happening this week in Philadelphia. Hopefully you don't have to take I-95 to get to any of their phenomenal events.
I don't know how is she gonna get there.
That shit is crazy.
I don't know how is she gonna get there, fam.
Yeah, you have to hit one of the other bridges and then just go.
Yeah, like everybody else. But I'll talk to you offline about it, Dan. I saw John last week again at a different event, and I told him I would chop it up with him, and we'll figure something out.
All right, cool. But until then, we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
All right, brothers.
Peace.